want to talk about how to boost your energy, how to have more energy. Having energy is a big subject in modern Western society, in this apparently evolved, civilized, highly civilized, advanced culture. I would say something like a third to a half of people are regularly suffering from low energy, exhaustion, and also chronic fatigue or chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, I've seen has become increasingly popular. Well, I'm about popular. It's really increased a lot in the last 20 to 30 years. So a lot of people struggling with low energy problems. Rather ironically, as well, our modern society really seems to live off stimulants. Even streets now, people walking around carrying coffees with them, and we've always had, kind of in the UK anyway, black tea. Using sugar, using energy drinks. This whole thing of using stimulants is because people are suffering from low energy. The trouble is, this then leads to actually long-term depletion of energy, which I'll talk about in a bit. So this is the current problem, and of course having more energy makes life more fun, more interesting. We can do more things, we can enjoy ourselves more, we have emotional energy, we have joy, passion, make love, etc. if we have a good amount of energy. When our energy becomes low, then life becomes less fun. We're also seeing, just come to my mind, this whole phenomenon of long COVID, which is really pointing out to us on a social level how we're not looking after our health and our energy levels well. Long COVID has a whole variety of different symptoms, but the main one is tiredness, which then leads to kind of memory loss and poor concentration, etc. Some people are very debilitated. So one way of looking at this is, how is it that the virus has caused this? And also to say that, I've seen quite a lot of people that have also got this after having the vaccine, quite similar symptoms. But the other way of looking at it is that it's also because before getting the virus, coronavirus, the health was not good. Already the body was struggling with energy levels, and then it's had this extra challenge through having the virus, and it just hasn't been able to cope. Over quite a few decades, another word for chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, was post-viral fatigue syndrome, because if already there's this exhaustion in the body and people get a virus, then it can feel as if they never really get out of the exhaustion that can follow having a virus. But the good news is that we can, if we really understand how we get energy into the body, and how to balance our energy input and output, then we can mostly all experience more energy. So that's what I want to tell you briefly in this video. One basic is to recognize that our energy isn't endless, that we have a limit. I have to admit that in the 1990s, when I was in my 30s, I burnt myself out. I was in that kind of young state of thinking my energy was going to be endless. I could take on more and more things, and I burnt out, and it actually took me quite a long time to really get my energy back up again. It took me a couple of years, because I did quite a thorough job of burning myself out due to my own ignorance and stupidity, and not observing the laws of balance. But that was my learning, so I learnt it well. And I then used my macrobiotic knowledge to get out of a deeply burnt out state and get my energy back to good levels again, so that I've had a pretty active life ever since. So we have to recognise that our energy is limited, and we seem to be particularly bad at this in modern society. We have an attitude of, let's push on. You're feeling tired? Don't be sissy. Push on. Let's get the job done. Push through. If you're really tired, that's the body saying, I need a rest. Why don't we listen to our body and do our best to then take a rest, take a break, have a nap or whatever. We need to adjust our thinking that we need to look after ourselves. You know, we have this precious body for this lifetime, and we can either abuse it, and then we're going to get exhausted, burnt out, and ill. Or we can look after it when we're going to experience better energy levels, more life, more joy, and be able to do more. So we really have to change our mindset, I think, to start off with, and recognize, you know, and if you're in a tired state, then, you know, if this is your normal energy level, and this is your normal energy output in terms of activity, doing things, working, playing, then great. But if your energy level has become low, you have to adjust your energy output to be lower as well. Because if you've only got this amount of energy and you're putting out this much energy through your work, etc., you will never get out of your exhaustion. Believe me, I've seen a lot of people with chronic fatigue and exhaustion, and you have to adjust your lifestyle to bring it in line with the amount of energy you have. In fact, the ideal is to make your output a bit less than the amount of energy you have each day, because then that extra energy goes back into your body, it goes back into your energy store, and then your internal energy gradually builds up. And this is the process of, you know, that I've supported a lot of people in recovering from chronic fatigue and, you know, deep fatigue in the body. Your energy's low. You have to cut down on your daily output. You have to become very good at energy management. If you overdo it, that's going to set you back for a few days. If you're level, you stay where you are. If you can underdo it, then this starts increasing. And as this increases, your energy, your output can increase, and you increase this some more, and then this can increase. I know a lot of people have tough lives, you know, children, work, earning money, and it can be difficult to cut down on that output and bring it down, but you really have to prioritize yourself and your health and be really rigorous in finding ways of doing that. So that's the first thing. You've got to become a good energy manager. You have to recognize how much your body can do and when it becomes too much and you need some rest. Really, if you're very fatigued or exhausted, you may also be finding it difficult to sleep, which is really annoying, because that's the thing you need the most. Take siestas. I'm really into taking siestas, particularly after lunch. If you sleep later, then often that may interrupt your nighttime sleep. After lunch, have a siesta. If you've had a really tiring week, then on the weekend or your next day off, have a long siesta, you know, or get up in the morning, have some breakfast, go back to bed, and sleep for another 2 or 3 hours. Don't be frightened of getting extra sleep. If we're in good health, maybe we can take 7 hours sleep a night, or between 6 and 8. If you're deeply exhausted, you need to up your sleep. Could be really good to have 9 or 10 or even more hours of sleep most nights in order to help recuperate your energy. Okay, then what I want to go on to is understanding where we get our energy from. So I've talked about balancing input with output, which is very important. Now let's see how we can boost our input. So we get energy from different places. In Oriental medicine, they recognize that we get energy from our parents and from our ancestors. In that sperm and egg, there's this very potent energy which comes into our body. And we have a certain amount of this inherited energy in the Orient called Jing, which we gradually use up over our lifetime. And if we don't die from an accident or an illness, then we will die because our energy runs out. This inherited energy and the energy that we've got from each day, looking after our health each day, runs out. The body can't work anymore. You can see this, in people as they get towards the end of their life. Just things don't work very well anymore. There's not enough energy to keep the body going, and so the body ends, the spirit leaves, and that's the end of this life. We can use up this energy quickly, or we can use it up slowly. So the ancient Chinese practices, Taoist practices, were how can we preserve this energy? How can we make it last a long time? In the West, we're quite keen on using it up as fast as possible. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, lack of sleep, staying up late, a lot of late nights, living to excess. We will use up our inherited energy more quickly. This is why rock stars tend to live, I don't know what it is, 10, 15 years shorter on average than average people. If you have more extreme lifestyles, of course, if we overuse our energy, then we're going to exhaust our energy and we're not going to live as long. So we need to nourish our inherited energy. Where else do we get energy from? From a physical viewpoint, we're getting it from our food, from calories or joules in our food. And we need to eat so many calories a day in order to give us food. The interesting thing is that we can be eating enough calories each day and yet still feel exhausted. So obviously this isn't the only way that we're getting energy, because if this was the main way that we got energy, if this was the whole story, we just get energy from food, and that's it, then how can we, if we're eating enough calories, then why would we be exhausted? So we need to take this deeper, more holistic look at where we get energy from, which I'm doing at the moment. Also physically, oxygen that we breathe in helps fuel the body. So breathing deeply really helps. Going for walks, being physically active in different ways, which makes us breathe more deeply, helps bring more energy into the body as well, you could say. Then in macrobiotics, because we're using a more energetic way of looking at how we work, as well as physical, there's a lot of additional ways that we can get more energy into the body. So coming back to food, when we're eating food, we're not only eating physical nutrients, carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins, etc. We're also eating chi or ki, as it's called in Japan, or prana in India. And if we're eating food with lots of ki in, when we eat that food, it gives us lots of ki. If we eat food that's had the ki pummeled or drained out of it, we eat the food and our energy's flat. We don't get any energy pickup. So which foods do we get the most energy from? Naturally grown plant foods. And by eating whole foods, whole grains, whole beans, whole seeds, whole nuts, whole sea vegetables, whole fruits. And also we could include more naturally reared animals, if you eat animals, such as more naturally caught fish or other animal products. All these foods have more ki in, and if we know how to cook them, in macrobiotics, cooking is like an alchemy. How do we take these energies and kind of change them and increase the energy in different ways for our health? This is how we're going to get the most energy. How do we get the least energy from our food? By processing the food, by cutting it up into little pieces, by throwing some of it away in order to produce white rice, white flour, white bread, white biscuits, sugar, etc. By mashing and pummeling food. I remember seeing a film of baby food factory, the food just being pummeled by machines, pumped through long tubes. This destroys the ki in food. When we take natural foods, this is why vegetables from the garden, you go and pick the vegetables in the garden, as we grow here, you bring them into the kitchen, you clean them up, and you cook them or eat them straight away, wow, they taste so amazing because they've got so much Ki in them still. Processed foods have much less Ki in, and I think this is the main reason why processed foods then have to have lots of additives, lots of flavorings, lots of salt, sugar, spices, flavor enhancers, and so on, because you've lost the natural energy of the food. And when you eat highly processed foods, then you're getting stimulated by the salt and the sugar and the flavor enhancers, but you're not getting much Ki from the actual food. So I think this high processing of foods has been a complete disaster for this reason and quite a lot of other reasons. The reason we need supermarkets, some of them, Tesco's the other day, I don't know, like 25, 30 aisles full of what? Mostly processed foods. 2 aisles of fresh fruit and veg and some whole grains and beans, and then most of the other aisles are processed foods. We don't need all of those. Go into a whole food shop or a health food shop, vegetable shop, and you can get all your whole foods in a much smaller shop. We want to get, we want food with the most energy in, and this really makes a big difference. And we need to do mostly home cooking. Fun to eat out sometimes, that's fine if you're in good health. But we mostly need to do home cooking because this is where we can make food that creates the most energy for us. Also, we get energy from the air. There's Ki in the air. So again, deep breathing. This is why so many disciplines, healthy disciplines, include breathing exercises, because this is how we get more Ki into the body. If you're feeling hungry, try doing some breathing, going for a brisk walk. You may find that need for food goes, because you've started getting food from energy from the air, and also your energy starts circulating. We also get energy from our natural environment, from plants, trees, the earth. It's good to get out in nature. I remember years and years ago when I lived in London, I would just go and lie on the earth in a park. I just wanted to feel the earth, or I'd sit with my back to a tree in order to pick up some of that natural energy. We also get energy from other people, particularly people that we have loving, close or stimulating relationships with. We're social creatures, we exchange energy. We need a certain amount of time with people, also with pets, animals, we get energy from as well. Very interesting, a lot of recent research, such as the Blue Zones research, showing that looking into why people live to a greater age in certain parts of the world, such as Sardinia, certain Greek islands, Ikaria, I think it is, Okinawa in Japan, eating whole foods, exercising, and having a strong social structure where the older people are supported and have fun in groups, with the rest of society. Ideas can give us energy. Also, our deeper connection with ourself, what you might call your inner self, our soul. We're on a path in this lifetime. We've come here to learn certain things and maybe to do certain things. We've come to develop. If we're in touch with this and we're doing what we love and what we're passionate about and what feels right for us, that gives us energy. If we're doing things we hate, that bore us to tears, I know sometimes we have to do that in life. I've done that at times in my life because we just need to survive, earn money. But long term, we want to move more and more towards doing the things which we really enjoy. I really enjoy my work. I enjoy giving these talks. So it gives me energy to sit here talking to you. So we need to keep modelling our life so that we're more and more on track with what we want to do with our life. And finally, we also get energy from spirit. We live in this vast spiritual world, the natural world and the spiritual world. And we may feel this, different people feel it in different ways. This is when we feel deeply peaceful and deeply connected, maybe a feeling of oneness, maybe losing our individual identity and just feeling like we just merged with everything. Deep sense of peace, deep sense of joy for no reason. This may come from meditating, sports, being in nature, doing Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong, many different practices can give us this feeling of deep connection. We're then connecting to the energy and the love that's in the universe, which we can then, when we open ourselves, we can receive this. And this can also deeply nourish us. This is why some people who do a lot of spiritual practices can fast for long periods of time without losing any weight, because they're using other kinds of energy or ki to nourish them. So we have lots of sources of energy. We need to make use of all of these in order to have the most energy. What this means in practice, so inherited energy, we just need to be careful with it. Let's not blow it all. Modern Western society, a lot of use of alcohol, a lot of use of drugs, and to a lesser extent, coffee, caffeine and stimulants. These things give us a quick burst of energy, but then leave us depleted. Alcohol is defined as a depressant. A little bit actually can create some joy because it moves energy and opens our hearts. But if we drink a lot, it depresses us because it depletes us. Coffee does the same thing. So many people these days on the low energy coffee cycle. You feel you have low energy. Oh, I need a coffee. Have a quick boost. But then actually the coffee further depletes your energy. It takes the energy, which in Oriental medicine is stored in the kidneys and other organs, it brings it outwards, but then the store gets less. So then you experience more low energy, then you need another coffee, then your energy gets lower, you need another coffee, and you're in a vicious cycle that gets difficult to break. And if you try and stop the coffee, then what do you experience? You experience how exhausted you are without the coffee. But at some time it is really good to do that, whether you cut down gradually or whether you do it all at once. If you're going to do it all at once, see if you can organise to have some time off, get some extra sleep time to nourish your body and let your energy build up. So let's respect our bodies and its inherited energy and use it wisely. Other things I've talked about, we need to be exercising, not over-exercising, which can also exhaust us, particularly if our energy levels are low. Some exercise is good, but don't overdo it. Don't push, because if after exercising you feel exhausted for some hours, then you've done too much. More exercise is not necessarily good. Exercise, practice deep breathing, look at my other YouTube videos on how to breathe deeply into the abdomen. Buy whole foods, eat whole foods, have mostly home cooking. Spend time in nature, spend time with people that nourish you. Don't spend time with people that don't nourish you. And spend some time with yourself, feeling what is your life about, what do you want to be doing with your life, what changes do you want to make in your life, and also connecting spiritually. I think these are the ways that we can have the most energy possible. So I really hope that helps you. I see so many people with low energy problems. If you really want some personal guidance and support and make some changes, then do get in touch, and I'll be very happy to give you a consultation or a series and support you in building your energy. Thank you very much.